King. So if you don't know me, I'm Dr. Celeste Owens, author, speaker, and leader of the Global Surrender Movement. And I like to say that surrender is simply doing God's will His way all the time, His way all the time. And God is a God of excellence, and He needs for you to show up in this world in a most excellent way. Most excellent way. So this is, again, the Surrender Break Room. I used to be on Periscope, and now I'm here on YouTube with all of my friends who are starting to figure out that I have moved locations, that I have switched over. So I love when my friends Stephanie and Christy and Aqua and Deborah come on over and hang out here with me. And really, being on Periscope was an opportunity for me to learn how to engage an audience when I don't see the audience, when I can't hear the audience except through a chat or something like that. But it really was an opportunity for me to hone my skills and to become excellent in it. Now that I've moved over to YouTube, every single week I'm like, go back to Periscope. But you know what? I don't even have an option because Periscope is actually ending this month. So I have to just learn how to be excellent here on YouTube. There's a scripture, you guys, Proverbs 22 and 29. And I'm reading for the Amplified Bible. Again, Proverbs 22 and 29, if you're taking notes. It says, do you see a man skillful and experienced in his work? He will stand in honor before kings. He will not stand before obscure men. And some translations say he'll stand before kings and he won't stand before mean men. Mean, not meaning angry or people who are trying to hurt you. It means average. You know, when you do statistics, you have to find the mean. You find the average of a group of numbers. That's what they're saying. He won't stand before average people, obscure people, but he will stand before great people. I love that. So my cousin Toya sent that to me overnight. She was just like, oh, the scripture, you're going to stand before kings, this sort of thing. Be excellent. The word she used was be diligent. Be diligent. Keep on working. Don't get weary in well-doing. Right, Deborah? Don't get weary in well-doing. Marcus, all of you guys who are listening, don't be weary in well-doing. So, do you see a man skillful and experienced in his work? Sometimes we see people who get opportunities we would love to have, or we see people doing things or on platforms and we're like, how did they get there? Or maybe you see the person who's actually, it is their platform. You're like, wow, how did they ever get to the place where they were doing something so amazing, so great? Is this, they were skillful, they were experienced, they kept honing their craft, they kept doing things in excellence, they kept learning more and more they need to learn. And that's how they got before kings. Genesis, if you look at across scripture, Genesis 41 and 46 talks about Joseph. I love this right here. It says, now Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph left Pharaoh's presence and traveled throughout the land of Egypt. That boy, he was so excellent. He was so amazing. He was so skillful that at 30 years old, he entered into the presence of Pharaoh and became second in the land, where he got freedom to be able to travel and do some of the things he needed to do in the land of Egypt. Some of you guys are locked in. Maybe it's a job. You're like locked into a job, or you're locked into some assignment and you're like, I have no freedom. I'm like punching a clock. I'm like this and like that. Get excellent, get skillful, get to a place where people are like, I need you. You get the freedom you want to do. As long as I get you, I get your skills, I get your, you working in this practice or whatever it is. He got freedom to travel. Some of you want freedom to travel. Some of you want freedom to have your own schedule. You want freedom to do a lot of different things. Proverbs 22 and 29, be excellent, be skillful, and it's going to bring you before the presence of great people. It says kings, but that's just meaning these great people, these people who are doing things, these mover and shakers. And when I lived in Pittsburgh, right before I was leaving, it was like probably a week before I was leaving, I was attending Sunday morning service for the last time in Pittsburgh. And one of the members just out of nowhere came up to me and was like, oh, thus saith the Lord. He wasn't that deep, but he was pretty much like, God is telling me to tell you this. He's like, you're going, but you're going to go before kings heads of states. He's like, I see you with all of these people around the round table, these people who are leading, you know. And I'm like, wow, really? And at that point, I was still in my doctorate program, trying to just get my PhD so I could practice psychology. And I was like, wow. But I was reminded today of that prophecy, because that's the sort of thing he was talking about. If you hone your skills, if you become really crafty and skillful and all of that good stuff, yes, your gift will make room for you. But you got to do things in excellence. You got to do things like God is literally sitting next to you watching you do it. Like, you gotta show up and do things. And I get tired of hearing people complain that they're not getting a chance. They're not getting an opportunity. Nobody's noticing me. People got favorites. People got this and that. Nah, you're gonna become their favorite if you start showing up in excellence. When you do something, like sometimes I'll see people. So, I have a book doula program. So I'm making sure that people produce a product that is excellent. But sometimes I will see people who have books, self-published books or things that they just threw together so they can have a product. They ain't gonna bring you before no kings. You just throwing something together so I can have something to sell somebody. Don't bother. Because I mean, you can bother, you can make you a few pennies here and there, but you want to do things where people are going to notice it. People are going to notice the great things that you're doing. That's what happened to Joseph. This brother was in jail, y'all. Joseph was in jail. And he had the food guy, the cupbearer to the king, and the baker, and they were in jail because they got thrown in jail because they couldn't. Something happened with the king. Anyway, Joseph interprets their dream, the dream that they had, and then the cupbearer was able to go back and tell the dream, the interpretation, tell the king the interpretation. He didn't give Joseph credit, but it didn't matter. Joseph had to stay there years later. He thought that he would give him the credit so he can get out of jail. He stayed there years later, but you know what? He was excellent in jail. They were making him like the foreman in jail, putting him in charge of people in jail. He was excellent. Woo, I'm telling you, I don't care what kind of prison you think you might be in right now. Be excellent. Do your best. People will take notice, and it will bring you before great men. More diligence in everything that you do. You know what's interesting? I'm just one of those people who, if I'm gonna do something, let's be the best at it. Let's be excellent at it. My daughter had to sell cookies for Girl Scouts. Do y'all know I was on YouTube looking up video? How do people be excellent at Girl Scout cookie sales? How they sell more cookies? What they do? I'm not playing. I'm telling you. So last point, and I'm out of your hair. When you're more diligent, so that scripture talks about being more diligent, being more skillful, practice. When you're more diligent, it's not even just enough to be more diligent or consistent. For people to take notice in you, when people are going to take notice in you, it's accomplished by your skill. So you might be doing something over and over and over and over again, but if you ain't excellent at it, that's not going to work. You got to be excellent at it. If y'all need to go back to school, yes, Aqua, if you need to go back to school, if you need to go get a ministerial license, if you need to go take some classes on public speaking, join a Toastmasters group, join a cooking class if you're looking to be a chef. I mean, whatever it is, get you some skills too. It ain't going to be enough that you just do it over and over again, because you can do something over and over again and be terrible at it and not even do a good job. No, you need to be diligent, doing it over and over again, being consistent and skillful in practice. See, those people, they're going to get noticed. And it's going to bring them to high situations. That's when it talks about kings. It brings you to high situations. So get in your head now. What is that thing that you want to have exposure for? What is that thing that is your gift? Are you really trying to do your best in that gift? Are you honing that skill? Because you're not, it's just going to take you before obscure, nobody type people who aren't doing anything. And they still got rule over you. You're like a slave to these mediocre people. But on the flip side of it, when you do excellent, you actually want to connect with other excellent people. So it also is two ways. Excellent people will notice you. You only want to be connected with excellence. So it's two ways that it goes. And then you just become to the position or come to the place where you're brought before Pharaoh. So when I wanted to learn, this is my last thing because I want to give you an example. When I knew that God was calling me to be a speaker, first of all, I didn't want to be a speaker. I didn't want to be a speaker. I was just so afraid of being a speaker, like so scared, stomach ache scared. Like, no, don't want to do that. But when I realized he was going to have me do it, one, I said a prayer like this. Lord, give me a double portion of Mama Willie. Y'all don't know Mama Willie. That was my grandmother. Give me a double portion of Mama Willie. My grandmother, who had like a third grade education, could get up and speak, and everybody would stop to listen to her. Like everybody. Kids would stop when she would get up in church to speak. It didn't matter if we had been in service 4 hours, 5 hours. When they said, Mama Willie, Mother Howard, would you like to have some words? Okay. Get up, bam. Just like people would be like shouting, listening. And I'm like, give me a double portion of that. If I got to do this, just give me that. It was like when Solomon asked for wisdom. Give me that. And then I started studying it. I started watching people who speak. I started looking at videos. I started reading articles on speakers. What do public speakers do? How do they engage people? What is that timing and that rhythm that you need to have to be a speaker? I started, when people would give me videos or audio of me, I would listen. What am I doing differently? Oh, I said too many times. Oh, you hesitate too much. One of the hardest things to do is to listen to yourself. Like, and the only reason I started doing that is because I think I saw like some NFL football player say he watched all of his games after he played. And I was like, what? That is like the most awkward thing to do, is to watch yourself, because you're the most critical of yourself, right? Oh, I love that, Elizabeth. Study to show yourself approved, right? So I was studying myself, and I would study it and I would study it. How did you do your hands? How did you do that? Are you engaging the audience? And that's what you do. You want to be a coach? Then you go learn how to be a coach. You go take some classes in coaching. Don't just hang up a shingle, I'm a coach, and you don't know what you're doing. Go look and see what people are doing who are great coaches. You got to do all of that, right? So that's my last directive, is to hone in on that skill, know what that skill is, start studying that thing, and start being excellent. And I tell you, trust and believe that the word is true. It's going to bring you before kings and great men. Thanks for listening, you guys. Catch me every week, Tuesday, YouTube. So glad to be here with you. And share it, like, comment, subscribe, people. And I'll catch you next time.